Welcome to the February episode of the JD Power Travel and Hospitality Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sarah Baggett, joined as always with Andrea Stokes, Michael Taylor, and Azari Jones. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, we have some exciting topics to cover today, and I want to start with something that is near and dear to many travelers' hearts, which are airline lounges. So we've heard a lot over the last year or so about overcrowding in these lounges and how maybe they are not as useful and fun and looked forward to as they used to have been. Mike, will you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. We've actually done quite a bit of surveying about folks and their attitudes towards lounges and their use of lounges. And of course, the thing with lounges is that you're trying to get away from all the crowds. We often talk to, on this podcast and to our clients about overcrowding at the major airports. And this is one of the byproducts of that. People want to get away from the gate and have a little bit of space between them and the madding crowd. So airline lounges are become so popular. It's an old adage from Yogi Berra that they're so popular no one goes there anymore. But that's basically true. So, and one of the things that we look at is, how'd you get into this lounge? Mostly has to do with about 40% of the folks get in there through their ticket. They have an upper class cabin ticket that allows them to get in, or they're a frequent flyer member. But the biggest thing that has created the overcrowding is the use of airline loyalty credit cards, and the use of those, the ownership of those allows you to get into the lounges much more often than, of course, people did half a decade ago or so. But most people are there for just an hour or less. Most of the people go there by themselves, so they're a little bit more on the business side of travel. We ask them what they like about it. Free food and drink are the big attractions. 3/4 of people say that's why I'm here. And then they also want to have a little quiet space to work and a better internet connection. Although I think that that might be misleading because most airport internet connections are quite good these days. The general access versus, say, the lounge access. I think they have about the same throughput these days. And then we've asked people, what would you really like to see in a lounge? And a lot of them cite the best lounges they've ever been are very exciting to look at. They might travel overseas and they might see some of these European and Asian and Middle Eastern lounges, which are quite spectacular, have a lot of interesting architectural details and stuff like that, which of course would be very expensive to reproduce here in the United States. And they also want to be able to get in and out of the lounge as quickly as possible. So those are the key factors for, what people are looking for in lounges. They want the free food and drink. They want the wow factor, and they want to be able to get in and out of it really quickly.
Well, we know from our What Makes an Airport Great series that areas to plug in your phone or your electronic device are important. So all the better if you can do that on your own with a free snack, right?
That's true.
Now, I have seen in the news that there are some sort of premium offerings coming our way. There's been talk of an airline lounge in the Hawaii airport that'll be pretty spectacular. So do you think we're going to see a rise of those kind of things in U.S. airports? Or to your point earlier, is it just a little too expensive to mimic?
No, I think they're going to try. They are going to try because it does create a lot of loyalty for the airlines themselves. Gives a little bit of exclusivity to their travel with the airline. There is some competition among airlines to have bigger and better spaces. And some of them are quite large. I mean, the new LaGuardia lounges are quite large especially for Delta. That's the one I'm most familiar with. It's probably 5 times as big as any lounges I've ever seen. And they do a great job with the food and the beverage in that lounge as well. But yes, I think there's going to be a competitive point. The problem will be, where is that real estate going to come from? Yeah, because there isn't like a whole lot of floor space in airports just waiting to have a lounge put into it. So that'll be the key thing. Is there going to be a space that will allow the airline to create something where people go, ooh, that's really cool. And that's not exactly easy to find at most major airports.
That's a great point. Just finding that square footage to actually put in one of those tremendous lounges is a challenge in itself. Well, speaking of rewards and programs that people are taking advantage of, we've got airline lounges on the one hand, and then when you think about the hospitality industry, you might think of reward programs, maybe something related to a credit card, getting extra rewards to stay at hotels longer, or maybe upgrade. Andrea, can you tell us a little bit about the sort of state of reward programs in the hospitality industry?
Yes, I think this year, 2025, is a year that the at least the hotel industry will take a look at their programs and kind of look at how they've evolved and sort of where guests are in the moment regarding their membership in these programs. And do guests value the membership? How are they using their membership? And then working right to make sure guests are actually receiving the benefits that these programs provide, at least, when they walk in the door at the hotel property. The hotel really does need to deliver the benefits that members are promised. So that's the guest level view. I think at a high level with artificial intelligence, I think hotel programs, they already have a lot of data on their members, but I think it's an opportunity to personalize the membership experience, whether it's personalizing it in the form of which partnerships to highlight to a particular member. So, members, these programs have a lot of partnerships with other, sort of travel related companies, whether it's airlines or, ride sharing like Uber, Lyft, even other brands and partnerships. But not every guest really will value every partnership in the same way. And so I think it's an opportunity for these programs to really personalize the member experience through not only communications, but also, what is the value of the partnership to that particular guest.
So maybe offering flexibility in within that personalization, it sounds like could be a huge benefit to hotels.
That's right. I think flexibility is key. I think, again, it's an opportunity for the large hotel chains in particular with the very large programs to um, take a look again at how guests have evolved, where guests are getting information about particular properties. Are they looking at influencers or AI tools or whatever? But how are they actually researching the property and then bringing that membership experience, right, and the loyalty program kind of front and center during that research process that guests are doing. Guests have more sources than ever, right, to research hotels, find out more about them. But I think it's an opportunity for the loyalty programs to take more of, maybe an active role in guest, travel planning and researching hotel properties, etc.
You bring up an interesting point about there being more resources than ever before to research a hotel and make your travel decision. I do have a question for you about EV charging. When guests are doing their research for hotels, does the availability of electric vehicle charging make any difference in their decision or affect their satisfaction in any way?
Well, it's a small portion of guests overall that have EVs and that take them on trips and go to hotels on those trips. But yes, for those guests, having EV charging available at the property is very important, especially on long road trips. So, and lots of hotels are putting in EV chargers. That it's quite an investment for a hotel to do that. But many hotel owners are going ahead and putting in EV charging. for guests. Sometimes they make them available to the general public, but generally hotels are, restricting the charging to guests only. But and for those guests, definitely having the availability of charging is important. We Our data shows that for for guests who use EV charging, their satisfaction is higher. Their overall satisfaction with the stay is higher than other guests, guests, perhaps who don't have EVs. So it does impact satisfaction, but again, it's generally it's a small portion of all guests who own an electric vehicle.
Well, lots of opportunities for hotels and hoteliers to be on the forefront and the cutting edge of guest needs and desires for their stay, for sure. Thanks, Andrea. Well, over the next couple of weeks, you are going to be seeing some special content from us about mobility as a service. And I'd like to throw it over to Azari Jones. She's going to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah. I'm really excited that we are diving into this new phenomenon that's kind of taking on legs in Europe, and it'll be heading overseas now. We kind of see a little bit of it. It's kind of like Amazon Prime for transportation, kind of where you can kind of get everything in one place on one app. So think of it as most people in like urban areas who don't really own a car or anything like that, they'll be able to download an app and get around. So it'll be rental cars, it'll be scooters, it'll be all the transportations you can think of in one app, and companies will start selling it as that. We see it now with Uber. They have Uber Copter, the Uber scooters. Of course, they have the traditional Uber rideshare apps, but as we start to see this become a thing, is people want to decrease their footprint and we want to get more people on public transportation, we're going to see mobility as a service become such a trend here in the States. It's growing. I don't know if it'll take foot everywhere, but I do know that, again, like Amazon and Netflix, it'll be that thing that starts off as something simple and then you kind of can't live without it. So looking forward to diving into more discussions on what that looks like and just give more people about more detail, where to find it, how to try it out on apps that are already here in the US if they're interested in doing so.
Well, we can't wait to learn more about that and hear more about it. Our March episode is going to be dedicated to mobility as a service. We'll do a quick overview of the topic, and Azari will help us delve into even more about it. So thank you so much. We look forward to that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, well, that does it for this month's episode of the JD Power Travel and Hospitality Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to joining you again in March.